Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me for my review of Miss Kuroitsu from the Monster Development Department, Episode 2, The Legendary Emissary Who Constantly Hears the Screams of the Evil Souls, Supping from the Kettle of Darkness, spreads fear in his wake as he awakens. So we start off with a pretty funny opening gag. Miss Kuroitsu shows up for the train and she's not really sure why she's there, and Megistus brings her lunch, kind of following up from, kind of his character from the last one. So watching the opening, when are we going to meet this chicken in the opening? I'm here to ask the important questions, and I want to meet this chicken. I also like that the episode title is so long, they don't even give you enough time to read it when they very quickly flash it on the screen. So introduced to a new character, Mizuki. She gets on a bus, kind of taking on some contract work, where she is met with someone who gives her a contract to sign and an envelope full of money, and the contract's basically like, oh, this job's going to be super dangerous, and she's like, I think I got on the wrong bus. Never a good sign when your employer kind of hands you a death waiver and gives you an envelope full of money, but we'll see where this goes. And then there's a lot more focus on Megistus. We find out he's like a workaholic, and then they do this kind of other gag where there's no rooms left at the hotel that he's waiting at, so he pretends like he's going to kill the manager and gets super angry, but instead he just kind of goes elsewhere. They also do a gag where he is trying out all the company's products, and one of them is a bunch of mobile games, so he's his mobile character is super powerful. You could probably tell I'm getting tired of these jokes. So we move to the second half of the episode, and Wolf Boy becomes a member of the R&D department since HR won't give them permission to hire new people. I never thought about creating evil villains to bolster the workforce, but I know what I'm going to be doing this week at work. They talk a lot about Wolf Boy peeing and how he pees because of he has the mind of a boy and a body of a girl, and I really think they miss an opportunity for a divine blader / bladder pun. Maybe it doesn't work in Japanese. Anyway, R&D starts working on a mech, and they have to coordinate with a bunch of other departments since it's not their area of expertise, and then all these other departments are pointing out all these unnecessary additions, like having too many guns and being too bulky, and then they have to go to the design department, who criticizes it for being not aesthetically pleasing enough, and the safety department is noting that's too dangerous, even though R&D brings up the fact that it is an evil monster that's designed to kill people. And then they have this super cool mech that's revealed to be, yes, it's the chicken from the opening. It's called Cannon Thunderbird. Give me a soul of Chogokin of this figure now. And then they order legally distinct KFC to celebrate its completion. They actually do the fight with Divine Blader in the after credit scene, which was actually also pretty great. They kind of did a low budget Super Sentai version of Blader defeating the Cannon Thunderbird with all the explosions and everything like that. And then he goes on to criticize Miss Kuroitsu for the poor design of the Cannon Thunderbird. Poor girl can't get a break. So I wasn't a huge fan of the first half of the episode. It was just built around the Megistus gag. They hammered the heck out of it. It was funny when they did it once or twice, but less so when it stretched out over 10 minutes. I also thought the Megistus otaku gaming bit was a little flat and sort of detracted from his character of this super serious evil guy who's actually really a great boss. And I don't think the B plot was ever resolved. I just sort of assumed that the busload of people were going to be cannon fodder for some experiment, but maybe they have some payoff for this planned, in a future episode. I really liked the second half of the episode. It kind of took the really funny premise of the first episode and then kind of just builds on it and is effectively just describing how a company works, but in the context of making mech. I think anyone who's really had to get approval from other people at work knows how ridiculous and unreasonable other departments can be with their request. Another thing I really liked about the episode, and they only mentioned it briefly, was that Agastia has this treaty that prevents them from attacking innocent civilians. I kind of like the idea of them having these odd contractual relationships that explain the eccentricities of super robot shows, Super Sentai, etc. It would be really funny, I think, if they explored this in future episodes, or maybe kind of made it a little bit of a running gag. They make a comment about, how they're not allowed to attack during transformations because, their shareholder said it, or something like that. Overall, I think the episode was solid, but I don't think it was nearly as good as last week's. Like I said, the Megistus jokes are just starting to fall flat for me, and some of the other jokes are starting to get a little repetitive. However, the opening does seem to be hinting at sort of a greater plot, and it is only episode 2, so I don't mind giving the show a pass for now. But I think that another 11 episodes of just making these same jokes over and over and over again is going to start getting old if they don't have, a deeper underarching plot. Personally, I think they should pivot the show and just make it all about Cannon Thunderbird and just forget about the rest of the characters. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe, and if you didn't, tell me about it in the comments. I do figure reviews on Wednesday and anime reviews on Saturday-ish. I know it was a little late on this one. Either way, please join me for Wednesday's figure review, where I'm going to take a look at the Robot Spirits MS09R2 Rick Dom's Y version anime. Thanks so much, and keep collecting.